Good morning, everyone. It's Hanifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I have a quote from Albert Einstein for you. And this quote says, "Logic will get you from A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere." Logic will take you from A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere. And I so believe this. So, I don't know about you, but I like to think of myself as a fairly logical person. And it's only been in recent times that I've really been thinking about this and meditating on the idea of this and allowing the universe to basically bring me some truths that perhaps I don't see with my normal conscious waking mind. And I do see that, Einstein was onto something for sure. And we know how incredibly intelligent he was and what a mind he was. So I wanted to share with you that when I look at my life, there's a lot of things that I have done and do that defy logic. They are not logical or not what the average person would think would be logical. And I have followed my heart and my thought process as what I believed, my thought process, my conscious awareness of what I felt were better decisions to make in the times that I made them. And I have to tell you, I'll give you a very simple example of a very recent experience. And that was when I went on my trip to Sri Lanka and the Maldives. I want to tell you that I had a strong desire to go on an international trip somewhere different, somewhere interesting. And I love waterfalls. So I was actually looking for places that had really nice waterfalls. And I knew the places that I had already thought about were things like Argentina, and I had been to Costa Rica, so I thought that's not it. Of course, I thought about Australia. I thought of a lot of different places, and of course, every place has loads of waterfalls, or many places have loads of waterfalls. But I wanted something that was coming from my gut. So that was a time that I did do a lot of meditation to just see what comes up. And Sri Lanka came up, which is so interesting. Never in my dreams had I thought about going to Sri Lanka. There was never a location that I was looking to see. And in fact, I had a couple of patients that were from Sri Lanka that are so happy to be in Canada and used to always tell me that they really would never like to go back to Sri Lanka because the experience is so different over there than what it is over here, and how they didn't feel comfortable and how people were not so honest and all of the things that I would think would logically keep me from a place like that. And yet, Sri Lanka came up. And I started looking into vacations to Sri Lanka. And again, remember, this was my first vacation on my own. So it was a pretty big deal for me. And now going to a place that not only were the people who were from there were recommending not to go there, but no one I knew in terms of friends had been there. So it was quite a big step. And I can tell you, I still decided to do it. And I decided to make sure that, I booked everything properly and things were completely organized in a way that would get me there to my destination easily. And I had a stopover in Hong Kong before I would go to Sri Lanka. It was a stopover just because of a connecting flight. And I can tell you that I was hoping I'd planned everything really well and there was just enough time to get to my destination on time. And the very next day was going to be our first day of travel from that location that a group was meeting up. And let me tell you that the morning of my trip, I got a message from my airline saying my flight had been canceled. And I couldn't believe it because everything was organized so well that I had to get that connecting flight to get to my location on time. And I still headed out on the next flight that I could take, and things were organized. And let me tell you, everything worked out. Everything worked out, and it defied logic in every sense of the way that I could think of logic for me to even choose Sri Lanka. And luckily, I also chose the Maldives. It was a combined trip. And it was and had to be and still is one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. There was no concern about dishonesty, there was no risk feeling, there was no non safety, there was bliss. It was a beautiful, beautiful trip. And again, when I look back on this experience and think, if I had used my logical mind about this trip, would I have gone? And no, I wouldn't have. Let there be no doubt. I would not have gone on that trip. And it was such a fabulous trip and such a great experience for me on so many different levels. So today, I want to make sure that you know that there's a lot of things that we can plan out logically in our minds and work out all the details, or we think we're working out all the details. And sometimes it does take a little bit of a leap to do something that logic does not seem to support. So I suspect that you have some experiences in your life today that logic may not be supporting. But if it's a heartfelt desire, I would encourage you to do it, because life is short. And if there is something that you feel will bring you joy and is not super risky, I know that's a bias, but I'm going to say if it feels relatively safe to take a little bit of a leap. And safe is all in the eye of the beholder too, right? So what do I think is safe, or what do you think is safe? And certainly when you're taking a step out of your comfort zone, lots of things do not look so safe. But today, I'd like you to think about some of the things that you might be thinking about or contemplating regularly. And perhaps they're not filling in the blanks in terms of, is this a logical step for me to take? And sometimes it does take a leap to take that next step and experience something fantastic and beautiful. So today, for 5 minutes after this video, do sit down and think, are there any things that you are really excited about possibly doing? Maybe it's a simple decision, like just going to a friend's home that you haven't seen for some length of time. Maybe it's simple that way, because right now that's not so simple either, right? Because we're in COVID times, and maybe it's just meeting that friend outside their door. Whatever it is, it can be simple, it can be huge, but I want you to think about, is there some area in your life that you can take a little bit of a leap? Because let me tell you, I don't believe that you will regret it. I think you will feel more confident, more aware, and more trusting in something that's outside of our human mind that's also taking care of us. I wish you a wonderful day ahead. And remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.